Hello, welcome to a new video journal. Today is June 4th, 2025, and tonight we are going to talk about some self-realizations. Excuse the smoke, I have a incense burning right now. But yes, we're going to talk about some self-realizations. Over the past couple of weeks, some new things have been happening on this new journey. I'm getting settled in. I'm getting settled into my apartment. If you've been on this journey with me, if you've been just keeping up with the YouTube videos and like the things that I may post on Instagram from time to time, if you've been keeping up, you know that I started over. I got a separation. I started over, got my new apartment, and since then, I've just been on this journey of self discovery. And, I've been realizing a lot about myself, since learning how to be alone again. And so, the more, we get into the months, it's just something new every time. And I've been facing some very uncomfortable feelings lately, and it's necessary. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. I feel like that's the theme of just this whole journey within itself. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And I want to talk about how I've been feeling like a failure. I've been feeling like the ultimate failure at life because I decided to leave my family, quote unquote, you know. That's frowned upon, in society. When you have kids and you settle down and you have a family and the woman wants to get up and leave, it's like, for what? And it all kind of boils down into something that I want to talk about. It can be sensitive, it can be triggering. So I just ask that if you watch this, watch it with an open mind. This is not to project. This is just my experience. These are self-realizations that I've had within myself, things that I've just noticed and witnessed around me. When you become a parent, the things that you feel on the inside, your inner world is muted, because in society, you don't matter anymore once you become a parent. And I'm talking for moms and I'm talking for dads. I do want to say I'm a huge advocate for fathers. I believe that they experience just as much. I believe that they experience just as much postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, shifts, different adjustments. Fathers experience the same thing. This is not just a generalized statement, but it's not just about moms. It's also it's about parents in general, moms and dads. I just kind of wanted to put that out there. But that's a different topic. But anyway, when you become a parent in general, certain parts of you are muted to the world. You basically no longer really matter because you have became a parent. So when a parent is talking about their feelings or their mental health or their personal experience as a individual outside of parenthood, we are looked at as, it's not about you, it's about the kids. Of course. And I do want to say this, if you don't pour into yourself as an individual, you're not going to be able to fully pour into your children. So there has to be some sort of balance where you're able to recognize and nurture yourself as an individual, and also still go along and embrace the journey of parenthood. With that being said, when you become a partner, a lifelong partner, when you become a wife, when you settle down and you have a family and you have these kids, that's your role in society. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a partner, a lifelong partner, whatever you want to label it. You have a family. Your job is to nurture that family. You don't even have a right to nurture yourself. That is how society looks at the role of moms, lifelong partners, wives, those type of things, dads as well. And so in my experience, that's why I feel like a failure, because I decided to leave the structure that I'm supposed to be in, forever, because I was unhappy in many different ways. And it's questioned. Oh, you're leaving because you're not happy, or you're leaving because of other circumstances and things like that. And it's like, yeah, um, you're laughed at for that. You're joked on. They just shaking your head. Oh, you want to be a single mom so bad, or like you want to be on your own, independent Black woman so bad. And it's not that. It's about taking the power within you and learning to choose self, so that way your children can be able to see, okay, mom or dad didn't tolerate certain kind of behavior. Mom or dad knows their worth. They want to be happy. They have passion. They have interests and dreams and goals that they want to accomplish. I didn't witness my mom being unhappy and being depressed. She mirrored a fulfilling, colorful life, and so did my dad. I kind of want my children to see a different narrative. Even though that me and my co-parent were not together, we're still considered a family. We're still able to show love and pour so much more love into our children than we did before. But from a personal standpoint, I do feel like a failure, just based on how society sees me. I know that I shouldn't care about how society views me, but the older that you get, you see how people treat you based on the certain type of titles and accolades that you hold for yourself. So if I was a Mrs., if I had a diamond ring on my finger, if I had the picture perfect family and I had degrees, and I had the nice car, and even like an image as well. I have very eclectic hairstyles. I dress a little different than your average scholar girl. But I just notice how people treat me and how they talk to me, because of how I'm viewed in society. I'm not married. I haven't finished college due to financial reasons. I lost my funding back in during the pandemic. So I just haven't been fortunate, and I haven't been in a financial space to go back to college. I would love to go back to school. That is one of my dreams. I get so emotional about school and education because that was like, my identity for a long time. College girl. I was in school for a long time. There were a lot of different circumstances. And I loved college. I love all the things that I was learning in college, in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so when I found out that I lost my funding and, I no longer had the funds to finish out the year, that broke me. Because I didn't really know who I was outside of school. I didn't know who I was outside of the classroom. College was my security. School was the validation that I needed in the world to feel accepted. So when I became a mom and I wasn't able to like finish school, and everybody else around me was graduating. My cousins, my sister, everybody, has the degree, except for me, and so in society, I'm looked at as, the low income baby mom. She ain't finished school. She wanna be out here, you know what I mean? Like getting pregnant, and in my family, getting pregnant and those type of things, it is frowned upon. Like, well, are you married? Are you in school? And when we're at family gatherings, or when I just run into family in general, they don't really ask me like how I'm doing, or hey, like how's the art, or is there anything exciting, any projects that you're working on. They don't really ask me anything of that because in society, being an artist, having these artsy passions, it's like, girl, bye. You know what I mean? Girls, sit down with those paintbrushes, feed those babies. That's kind of just what it is. And of course, of course, I get it. But I've been feeling invisible, for a long time, because I don't have the accolades like everybody else does. I didn't do things the right way. I didn't do anything in order, that society tells you to do. You go to school, you get this wonderful job, you find a good man, you get married, and then you have kids, and you have the house and the nice car, and you're just living out this dream. I didn't do it. Everything was kind of just very out of order. I think as women, Black women especially, we want to hold on to these titles in life because it makes us feel like we are worthy in society. When you're a black woman with a bachelor's or a master's or a PhD, you know, that's your title. You know, that's your trophy. You know, look at me. I'm worthy. I have the ticket to be respected. You know, I have the ticket to sit at the table. When you're married, especially, you know, when it comes to um, certain marriages, you know, when you become when, you know, a first lady at a big church, or, you know, you've married a mayor or, you know, a senator, and, you know, the president, you know, anything of high value or these high titles, even having a ring is that trophy. Look at me. I'm a black woman and I got married. That I have a ticket to sit at the table too. That ring, especially the bigger it is, you know, whoever the man is, that's your ticket to society. And then comes, you know, like the job, the children, even how many children you have, that is your ticket to society in like some sort of way. But yeah, you know, I have no tickets to sit at the table. And do I really want to sit at the table? Like, do I really need these titles to feel like I'm whole? Or is it just to satisfy? Is it just to show? You know? Now, I will say, I'm very passionate about school. And so I would love to go back to school when I have the financial opportunity to. School is expensive. I know that now that I'm a mom, there are benefits and grants that I'll be able to apply for. And so I want to take that step. I get so emotional about it because I feel like school can be my ticket out of a lot of different situations. I don't know. But I trust God and I know that He has a plan. But, you know, if you are someone that resonates, let me know in the comments. I had saw a TikTok video. The lovely lady, she was giving tips about how to navigate this world as a weird black girl. You know, and so let's start off with, what is a weird black girl? What is the awkward black girl? It's good to know that we're getting represented in television, you know. I would say some of the examples of, like, you know, weird black girls would be Nola Darling, and She's Gotta Have It, Issa and Insecure, the incredible something of Jessica James, High Fidelity, like the Zoe Kravitz in High Fidelity. What's the other? I don't know these. I don't know like everybody's name, actual real name, but what is it? There's a lady in the movie. I mean, in the show Chewing Gum. And then there's another main character in Dear White People. But yeah, those are just like some of the examples of like what it means, you know, awkward black girl. And I kind of fit into that realm. But anyway, like the lady was saying, she was giving tips on, how to navigate society being that way. And she was like, one, always, like when you're out in public, you gotta look good. You gotta look good. And I laughed at that because I was like, you know what? That's funny. Um, there's certain, and she was also saying like, there's a language also that you have to learn being a awkward black girl or artsy black girl or just being different from the norm. There's a certain language that you have to learn. You do have to do a lot of masking because the conversation, the dialogue is different, you know, out there in the world. When you're talking to a coworker, it's different. And I know for me, being, first of all, being neurodivergent, being artsy, awkward, weird, and being in these spaces where everybody else is so normal and they're neurotypical and they're able to have conversations that are just like so boring. A lot of time I don't speak, I don't really know what to say. um I don't really care to, because what are we talking about here? I know that one thing that I've had to learn, in society is speak to people. So now I do say, hey, how you doing? And that's really all you're going to get from me. Because what are we talking about here? 9 times out of 10, I'm overstimulated, I'm tired, and I'm not really even like mentally here. I'm just like ready to go home and create. I may be ready to go home and just like eat a good meal without being interrupted by, a nonsense conversation. Like, But yeah, I mean, I've been feeling a lot of different things. I've kind of like hopped over, but it kind of just all stems, feeling a little bit invisible, not feeling worthy of fitting in. But I know, that worthiness doesn't come from a title, or a piece of paper or ring or baby. It doesn't come from those things. It comes from within. um and so there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of inner work to be done, because I want to be able to only pour into myself and only validate myself. I feel like right now the only reason that I feel like a failure is because of, I do care about what other people think. I have been insecure, I've been self-conscious, because being myself has caused me some weird interactions. Like, being myself is just strange. I'm just constantly, people are confused. I'm judged. I'm judged badly at my job. People don't see their faces and like how they like look at me, but when I come into work, and there's all different kind of people at the job during the day. Some, are parents dropping off their children, there's staff, there's just, and I, just see how they look. There's been things that have been, people have said some very rude things about me, to the principal. I just see it, and I feel it as well. People don't think that I'm aware as much as I am because I just choose to stay in my bubble, but I'm very aware, um, of how and what people think of me. Um, I had, I was clocking out one day, and it was these two ladies. They were sitting in the lobby. I don't know who they were waiting for or what they were waiting for, but I saw how they looked at me like with confusion, you know, and I heard her say, yeah, that's one of the teachers. It's like, like what the fuck does that supposed to mean? I'm one of the teachers, okay, you know, but I take it in, and I just, still being kind and respectful. I told them, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Um, and I just saw like, like you too, and I'm just like, okay, but even though it's weird because even though that I feel invisible, I know that I'm brave. Um, I'm a representation for girls, even for women that may want to live in their fullness, but they're afraid to. Um, and it's a process. I'm living in my fullness. My hair, the way that I wear my makeup, some of the things that I choose to wear. Um, you know, I'm advocating for the girls that are different. You know, um, it's weird because like I can be so insecure sometimes, but at the same time, I'm so brave. I'm so bold. I still do it. And that's what I was kind of saying in the other video. Do it afraid, do it insecure, do it confused. Like, just still do you, be you. Um, because somebody's watching. Um, somebody's watching, and there's just and I realized that, and I have these self-realizations that like it don't even matter what you got, it don't matter about the title, it don't matter about any of that. People are still going to judge you no matter what. So do you, regardless, you know what I mean? I think that this is just kind of about like the war that I have within myself. It's like I'm aware, like I don't know, it's like I'm aware, but at the same time like I still be like kind of falling into um these blurry moments in life, which is just totally understandable. But let me see. Okay, it's almost about to die. My iPad's about to die soon. But yeah, I've been rambling on. Maybe there'll be like a part two. Maybe there'll be some art about everything that I talked about tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I just want to say I love you, and if you resonate, if you have any advice, share in the comments. Okay? All right. Peace.